A great change began in Africa with the arrival of foreign conquerors. These were men who sought to expand their empires and impose their will upon ancient lands. Around 332 BC, Alexander the Great marched his armies into Egypt, marking the start of a new era of Hellenistic or Greek influence. His rule was followed by that of his general, Ptolemy I Soter, who established a dynasty that would last for nearly 300 years. These rulers brought with them new gods, new languages, and a patriarchal system of power that was different from the traditions of many African societies. Their goal was to control the immense wealth and strategic importance of the Nile Valley. The Ptolemaic dynasty in Egypt was a period of great cultural fusion but also of external control. Ptolemy I Soter and his successors presented themselves as pharaohs to the Egyptian people, adopting some local customs to legitimize their rule. However, their administration and military were fundamentally Greek. They introduced figures like Serapis, a composite god designed to unite Greek and Egyptian subjects under their authority. This era of foreign leadership eventually culminated with the arrival of another powerful figure, Augustus Caesar of Rome, who defeated the last Ptolemaic ruler Cleopatra VII, and made Egypt a province of the Roman Empire in 30 BC. The influence of these European rulers extended far beyond their lifetimes, embedding their images and ideals into the foundations of what would become Western civilization. The likenesses of these Hellenistic and Roman leaders carved in stone and struck on coins became symbols of imperial power and authority. Some researchers even draw connections between the imagery promoted by the Ptolemies, such as the deity Serapis, and the later depictions of religious figures that became dominant in the Western world. This cultural imposition was a deliberate strategy to overwrite the existing spiritual and political structures of Africa, with a new patriarchal order brought from across the Mediterranean Sea. This new order was not content to remain only in Lower Egypt. The ambitions of Alexander, Ptolemy, and Augustus pushed them southward, toward the ancient and powerful kingdoms that had thrived for millennia along the Upper Nile. They sought to dominate the lands of Nubia, Kush, Meroe, and Kerm, civilizations renowned for their gold, their sophisticated culture, and their formidable armies. It was here, at the threshold of these deeply African realms, that the Hellenistic and Roman patriarchs would encounter a force they did not fully anticipate: the powerful matriarchs of Africa, the warrior queens who would not bow to foreign invaders and were prepared to defend their ancestral heritage. The southward expansion of the Greco-Roman powers led them directly into conflict with the formidable African kingdoms of the south. These were not scattered tribes but highly organized and ancient civilizations, including the powerful kingdom of Kush, with its capital at Meroe. For centuries, these Nubian kingdoms had maintained a rich cultural identity and immense wealth, often rivaling Egypt itself. A unique feature of their political structure was the prominent role of women in leadership. The queens, known by the title Kandake or Candace, were not simply consorts to kings. They were absolute rulers, revered as queen mothers and fierce military commanders who led their armies into battle. This clash of civilizations became a true gender war, a direct confrontation between the patriarchal ambitions of Rome and the matriarchal authority of Kush. The Roman legions, led by men who believed in a world dominated by male rulers, were stunned to face armies commanded by warrior queens. These Kandakes were not symbolic figures, they were strategic geniuses and courageous fighters who inspired deep loyalty among their soldiers. They embodied a tradition where power was not defined by gender, and where the sacred duty to protect the land fell to the strongest and wisest leader, whether man or woman. This was a worldview that the Romans could not easily comprehend or defeat. The most famous of these conflicts occurred after Rome annexed Egypt. The first Roman governor, Gaius Cornelius Gallus, pushed his legions south, seeking to subdue Nubia and claim its resources for the empire. This aggression sparked a powerful response from the reigning Kandake, Queen Amanirenas. She was a formidable one-eyed queen who refused to pay tribute to Caesar Augustus. In 27 BC, she launched a brilliant counter-offensive, leading her Kushite army north into Roman-controlled Egypt. Her forces successfully captured the key cities of Syene, Elephantine, and Philae, demonstrating the military prowess of the Kushite kingdom and her exceptional leadership. During this campaign, the forces of Queen Amanirenas famously toppled statues of Emperor Augustus, and as an act of symbolic defiance, they decapitated one and buried the bronze head beneath the steps of a temple dedicated to victory in her own capital of Meroe. This act ensured that every person entering the temple would forever tread upon the image of the Roman emperor, a powerful statement of Kushite sovereignty and contempt for Roman imperialism. The battles that followed were fierce, a testament to the clash between two powerful empires and two fundamentally different views on leadership and power, pitting the might of Rome against the unyielding spirit of an African queen. The intense conflict between the forces of Queen Amanirenas and the Roman Empire lasted for several years, with both sides experiencing victories and losses. The Romans, under their new commander Petronius, managed to push the Kushite army back, and even sacked the city of Napata. However, they were unable to hold their ground deep within Nubian territory, and could not achieve a decisive victory against the resilient Kushite forces. Queen Amanirenas continued her resistance, proving that the kingdom of Kush was too powerful to be conquered and subjugated as a mere province of Rome. The cost of continued warfare was becoming too high for the Romans, both in resources and in soldiers. Recognizing the unwinnable nature of the war and the formidable strength of his opponent, Emperor Augustus agreed to negotiate. In 21 BC, a historic peace treaty was signed on the island of Samos. This was not a treaty of surrender but an agreement between two equal powers. Queen Amanirenas' envoys successfully negotiated terms that were highly favorable to the kingdom of Kush. The Romans withdrew from all Kushite territories they had occupied, and most remarkably, they cancelled the demand for tribute. This treaty secured the independence and sovereignty of Kush for centuries to come, a monumental diplomatic victory achieved by a powerful African queen over the most dominant empire in the world at the time. Following this era of conflict and the establishment of peace, a period of cultural and spiritual flourishing began in the Nubian lands and in parts of Egypt. The people who had resisted the invaders now channeled their energies into creating magnificent structures that encoded their deepest ancestral knowledge. Grand temples were constructed, not just as places of worship, but as libraries of stone containing profound wisdom. One of the most significant examples is the Temple of Hathor at Dendera, a masterpiece of sacred architecture. Its walls and ceilings are covered in intricate carvings and hieroglyphs that go far beyond simple religious tales, holding the keys to understanding the cosmos. These temples were monuments to the divine feminine and the power of the matriarch. The goddess Hathor, to whom the temple at Dendera is dedicated, represents love, beauty, music and motherhood, embodying the life-giving principles that were central to African spirituality. The temple's famous astronomical ceiling is not merely a depiction of the stars, it is a sophisticated map of celestial movements, spiritual journeys, and cosmic cycles. Within these sacred diagrams, many believe there are hidden messages, maps of the earth that include continents and land masses that were supposedly unknown to the ancient world, preserving a secret geography passed down through generations. The symbols and artworks found within the Temple of Hathor and other sacred sites from this period offer a profound glimpse into a world of hidden knowledge, much of it centered on the power and wisdom of women. The frequent depiction of goddesses and powerful queens is not merely artistic choice, it is a clear indication of a society where the matriarchal line was revered and held spiritual authority. These images communicate complex ideas about creation, spirituality, and humanity's place in the universe. They suggest a deep understanding of natural laws and cosmic principles that were preserved and passed down by initiated women who served as priestesses, healers, and guardians of sacred traditions. Intriguingly, some interpretations of these ancient maps and symbols point to an advanced knowledge of global geography that defies conventional historical timelines. The carvings are said to contain diagrams of the entire planet, including representations of lands far beyond the known world of Africa, Europe, and Asia. Some researchers argue that these depictions include a map of Antarctica, but shown as it would appear without its ice cap. This suggests that these ancient African societies possessed a secret legacy of knowledge, perhaps inherited from an even earlier civilization, about the true shape of the Earth and its history, long before European explorers made their so-called discoveries. This knowledge was deliberately hidden in plain sight, encoded within complex symbols that could only be understood by those initiated into the mysteries. It was a way of protecting sacred truths from the uninitiated and from foreign invaders who sought to destroy or co-opt African culture. The matriarchs, as the spiritual leaders of their communities, were the custodians of this secret wisdom. They protected the knowledge of their ancestors, the stories of their origins, and the maps of both the physical and spiritual worlds. This hidden history tells of powerful women who not only led their people in war, but also guided them through their connection to a higher consciousness. Today, we are living in a time of great awakening. The stories that were buried under the sands of time and suppressed by centuries of patriarchal history are now coming to light. The heroic resistance of Queen Amanirenas and the wisdom encoded in the temples of Dendera are powerful reminders of the hidden matriarchs of ancient Africa. Their legacy challenges us to look beyond the accepted narratives and to recognize the profound contributions of the powerful women who led their people, defended their lands, and safeguarded a sacred knowledge that is now, once again, beginning to rise. The secrets of the past are re-emerging to inspire a new future.